Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really fascinating look at the whole idea of leadership, and we're pulling our insights from a corporate keynote called Like the Tree, the philosophy of rooted leadership.
That's right. And this deep dive is specifically designed for you, the person who's trying to navigate what can be a really fast-moving, high-pressure professional world.
Absolutely.
Our goal here is to distill its core philosophy. And it's really not about finding success with external tactics. It's about choosing this unyielding internal character over what's, convenient or popular right now.
And how that choice actually plays out, how it leads to, well, survival and eventual success in what can be a pretty cutthroat environment.
Exactly.
I think the reason the source is so compelling is that it hits on that real professional struggle right away. I mean, true leadership isn't just about managing a budget, right?
Mm.
It's defined when everything is being tested. It speaks to that sort of hidden fatigue we all carry, the times you fought a silent ethical battle in your head.
Or stayed late just to make sure a project had real integrity.
Yes. Or when you held the line when, honestly, just bending the rules a tiny bit would have solved your problem instantly.
That's it right there. The keynote argues that those moments, those quiet choices you make when you think no one's even watching, they're the actual building blocks of your professional character.
So they determine not just the quality of your work, but I guess the resilience of your whole career.
Precisely. And it all starts with what the source calls the uncompromising core.
Okay, let's unpack that. The uncompromising core. If we're talking about high-pressure situations, the source says leadership is proven when you have to choose who you are. So what are the specific choices that define whether a leader is, rooted?
Right. So they lay out these three non-negotiable choices. And they're really stark dichotomies, not vague ideas. They're the choices that pretty much dictate whether you build something that lasts or something temporary.
Okay, lay them out for us. What's the first one?
The first is choosing principles over popularity.
Yeah, the classic struggle.
It's the classic struggle in any modern office, isn't it? It means refusing to endorse the popular but, bad idea in the meeting.
We're just going along with a strategy because the most powerful person in the room wants it.
Exactly that. It's the choice to be respected internally for your substance rather than just, liked externally for your compliance.
That's incredibly hard, though, because popularity often translates directly into political currency, right? Access, opportunity.
Oh, for sure. You're basically trading that immediate social capital for something much more foundational, but it's long-term.
Okay, so that's one. What's the second choice?
The second is choosing character over convenience.
Character over convenience. Right.
And this is where the temptation of the shortcut really comes into play. I mean, convenience is always the path of least resistance.
It's just easier.
It's always easier. But character demands you do the necessary, often tedious, complicated work. The due diligence, the double-checking.
The transparent reporting, even when it adds 2 weeks to the schedule.
Especially when it adds 2 weeks to the schedule.
So, if the first one is about social courage, this one is more about personal discipline, resisting that urge for a quick fix. And the third?
The third is choosing consistency over chaos.
That's an interesting one. Chaos can feel productive.
It's seductive because it feels like speed. It's the constant pivoting, the reacting, the dramatic firefighting that makes people look busy.
Right. Look at me. I'm solving crises.
Exactly. But consistency is about building reliable processes, predictable behavior, honoring commitments. Even when some shiny new initiative is distracting everyone else, it's really the only way you build genuine trust over time.
So when we look at this rooted leaguer, they're not just defined by what they do, but by what they actively avoid. The source talks about a hidden compromise economy. What does that actually look like, say, on a Monday morning?
The hidden compromise economy. Yeah, it operates in the shadows. It's that culture where people chase shortcuts.
Right.
Things like signing off on data you haven't actually verified.
Or just letting small errors slide because fixing them is too much work.
Yes, that's a perfect example. Or playing politics by, subtly undermining a colleague in a meeting, bending your values to fit whatever crowd you're with.
Like fudging a metric just a little to make the quarterly report look better than it is.
You got it. It's that passive-aggressive sabotage of your own long-term reputation. The rooted leader, they avoid shaking hands in those secret corners. They refuse to make deals based on favoritism. They don't cut corners in hidden spreadsheets that only they understand.
They eliminate those dark corners of ambiguity.
That's it. Their integrity just demands transparency.
Okay, but here's where the rubber meets the road. It sounds great to say choose character, But that choice often comes with a really immediate, very tangible cost. Let's get into that corporate example, the manager who stood alone.
Yes, this anecdote is what really grounds the whole philosophy. So this was a manager in a high-growth division, and he was under immense pressure to get rapid results. Huge pressure.
A familiar story.
Very. He was tasked with launching a major product, and everyone around him was just looking for that quick win.
So what did he specifically refuse to do? What got him into trouble?
Well, he refused to engage in those three core compromises we just talked about. For instance, he refused to assign people and money based on political influence. Did it based only on genuine need and merit.
That alone would make waves.
Oh, yeah. And he refused to inflate the projected success metrics to please senior leadership. He insisted on using, sober, verified data, and he refused to rush the testing phase. Not launch a compromised product just to hit an arbitrary date.
So he chose principles over popularity, character over convenience. What was the immediate fallout from that? You mentioned he was mocked.
The reaction from his peers was, well, it was brutal. They saw him as an obstacle. They'd openly dismiss him in meetings. They called him too slow, too honest, and this is the key part, too straight for the real world.
Wow, so they were basically saying he was naive, that he didn't get how the game was really played.
Exactly. In the short term, his integrity made him an outsider, maybe even a pariah.
That's a really tough pill to swallow for any ambitious person. You're essentially saying that following your character might actually stall your career, at least for a while.
It might. And that's the point the keynote drives home so forcefully. The path of least resistance is usually paved with short-term rewards, quick wins, praise, people telling you you're a team player.
And the path of character is often lonely. It feels slow.
It does. But this manager, he understood he was playing the long game. And this is where that central metaphor really takes hold. Despite all the pressure and the ridicule, he didn't break. He didn't bend.
He planted himself.
He planted himself.
Mm-hmm.
Firm, steady, rooted, like a tree beside a flowing stream, just refusing to be moved by the current rushing all around him. He knew he couldn't stop the stream of corporate politics, but he could absolutely control his own internal structure.
Okay, so we have to look at the consequences. Let's jump ahead, because this is where the story really shifts, and we see the fate of the unrooted versus the principled.
Right. So the narrative takes us forward about 18 months. And what you see is the inevitable collapse of the teams that prioritize speed and convenience. Those projects built on shortcuts.
The ones with the fudge data and skip testing.
Those exact ones.
Yeah.
They began to fail. And not just fail quietly, but fail publicly.
And how did that failure actually manifest? What did it look like?
Well, their projects just crumbled under the first real sign of market pressure or an internal audit. Their teams, which were built on this fragile trust and shortcuts, they just collapsed in the tough seasons because the foundation wasn't sound.
That makes sense. If you hire people based on politics and not merit, that team will just dissolve the second things get hard.
It's inevitable. So their lack of roots meant their success was fleeting. It wasn't a question of if they would fail, it was always a matter of when. Their temporary victories, those flashy wins that got them all that early praise, vanished, like dust in the wind, as the source puts it. When senior leadership finally had to answer for the mess, for the financial losses, those politically savvy leaders had no foundation to stand on. Their influence just evaporated.
So now let's contrast that with the manager who was called too slow.
His team stood strong. Because he had insisted on verified data and quality processes, his work just wasn't vulnerable to the same pressures. While everyone else was in crisis mode, putting out fires.
His team was just quietly executing.
Quietly achieving its targets, it bore fruit right on time. Not early, but reliably. And the most powerful detail for me is this. Their results remained green, even in drought.
What does that mean in a business context? Green in a drought.
It means resilience. When the market cycle turned down or when budgets got tight, his team kept performing. Because his processes were clean, efficient, and built on realistic expectations, they could keep going when everyone else was scrambling.
So their credibility, their reputation for honesty, that became their competitive advantage.
That became their most competitive advantage. It's a huge insight. It totally flips the script. Instead of seeing honesty as a weakness, it becomes the ultimate structural strength. You're not wasting energy defending bad decisions.
You're just executing.
You're just executing on the sound foundation you already built. The keynote sums it up perfectly. The principled manager didn't chase success. He attracted it by being unshakable. In a chaotic world, People and opportunities naturally gravitate towards stability and truth.
Which brings it all back to that universal truth of the whole philosophy.
Yeah.
The wind always tests what you're rooted
The
in.
wind is inevitable. You can't control it. It can be a market downturn, a new competitor, an internal crisis. But you have absolute control over the depth of your roots. The leaders who fail are the ones who prioritize the appearance of height over the reality of depth.
Okay, let's move into the final section, which is really the call to action. The audience is urged to stand, but the source is very specific about when and where you need to do that.
Yeah, this is about defining your leadership through small, daily acts of resistance. So you stand when shortcuts tempt you, obviously. That's the big one. But it also includes things that feel smaller, more subtle.
Like what?
Stand when politics surround you. Stand when other people are sitting in circles of gossip and negativity.
Because just participating in that erodes your integrity.
It erodes it just as surely as cutting a corner in a spreadsheet. And maybe the hardest one. Stand when the world says, but this is how everyone does it. That pressure to conform is just immense. It's designed to break your conviction.
That's a fantastic point. The pure pressure to join that compromise economy is so intense. It takes real courage to look around and say, no, I'm not doing it that way.
It does. And to combat that, the source offers this idea of the rooted leader's armor. It's a great analogy. It says, integrity is your strength. Values are your armor. And consistency, that relentless daily commitment to the truth, that is your power.
And if you maintain that armor, if you commit to that consistency, what's the long-term promise? Because it suggests this path leads to an inevitable prosperity, not just a potential one.
The promise is longevity and legacy. Your career becomes like that tree by the river. It's rooted deeply. It's fed constantly by that stream of truth and good process. It grows quietly, and it prospers inevitably. You just remove the frantic need to chase quick wins.
And you replace it with the slow, steady certainty of real growth.
Yeah. You're remembered for holding your ground, not for fitting in. It's the ultimate message of resilience. You gain influence not by fighting for a position, but by making yourself the immovable, trusted center in a constantly shifting landscape.
So this deep dive really reminds you that character isn't a soft skill. It's a structural necessity, especially in a high-stakes world. It's about choosing the hard road now for that resilient dividend later on.
Exactly. And as you think about the silent battles you might be fighting this week, just remember the final challenge from the source. It's something for you to consider the next time the wind starts to blow.
Stand even if you stand alone. Because eventually, inevitably, the world moves aside for the leader who refuses to be moved.